this is just breaking. Here's a video of Sam Husseini, who's a Jordanian Palestinian journalist. And I guess he was thrown out of Antony Blinken's final press briefing here.
Bloody Blinken.
Yelling at him, why aren't you in The Hague? Which is a great question. Yep. Here's some footage, and then we'll show you how CNN framed it.
2 or 3 people. You pontificate about a free press. You pontificate about a free press. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. You are hurting me. I am asking questions after being told by Matt Miller that he will not answer my questions until I'm asking questions. Wasn't the point of the May 31st statement to block the ICJ orders? You blocked the ICJ orders.
These are all great questions.
Please sir, respect the process.
A journalist.
Respect the process. Respect the process. Well, everybody from Amnesty International, to the ICJ saying that Israel is doing genocide.
Why aren't the rest of the journalists doing anything?
The process.
Access.
Criminal. Why are you in The Hague? Why are 2 or 3?
What a incredibly brave way to just go out with a bang with this administration that has committed genocide. There's no other way to put it. And every journalist and I don't want to be too hard on these State Department journalists, because they, like Matt Lee of the Associated Press has been great, and Ryan Grimm has made appearances in that briefing room and asked some really tough questions.
Of course, Brent Talker too.
Yeah. So there's a lot of really great reporters there, but this is the kind of hostility that he should have been met with if he was made available. But all these State Department spokespeople should have been met with every day.
Or repeat the question that he got thrown out for. Why isn't he at The Hague?
Well, this is that. I mean, maybe they did, but this, how is America? We're going to talk about free speech in this country, and this is how a journalist is treated for asking this kind of question. But luckily, we have other members of the media who are going to stand up for fellow reporters. Like the way that they stood up for the record number of journalists killed by Israel in Gaza. Oh, wait, that's not what happened. Here's how CNN reacted to this reporter.
As you heard, he was repeatedly interrupted by some cringeworthy heckling by activists. Evil. We were both sitting here pretty stunned, frankly. This is supposed to be a press conference with a room of journalists. Those were activists who were interrupting the Secretary of State.
Oh, no.
When he initially was thanking the press and talking about the Israeli-Hamas deal.
Yeah, I think it's really surprising. A lot of our viewers will have seen protests on Capitol Hill, for example, during confirmation hearings, but it's very rare for something like that to happen at the State Department. I'm over there all the time in that briefing room, and you need to have a reason to be at the State Department. You need to have an appointment. You need to have press accreditation to come and go. So it's unclear who those people were. So I think there's a real security question there. Allow me to be cheesy for a moment. This is a testament to American democracy and the way that American administrations approach their press rooms. They give accreditation to a wide number of journalists, and increasingly what I would call less mainstream journalists, more opinion journalists, who have the opportunity to go to the State Department, to go to the White House, and to ask questions of the representatives of that administration.
So it just clicked what he is both, auditioning and just saying, I'm one of the good ones, and 2, protecting himself, because to call that guy an activist, which I was wondering if they were going to reveal that they were misinformed about who this person was and if they thought it was someone from Code Pink or something like that. No. He makes it clear there that he thinks that this reporter is an activist because of the fact that he doesn't work for one of those legacy outlets, and is besmirching that reporter for that very reason.
Do people know the names of these two? I'd like to identify
This is
them.
Pamela Brown and Alex Marquardt at CNN.
Pamela Brown and Alex Marquardt?
Yeah.
Interesting.
So it's super cringe to call out the Secretary of State for committing genocide. I mean, honestly, eye roll emoji. I couldn't believe she used that phrasing in and of itself.
I want all these organizations to succumb to economic pressures and get the fuck out of our lives. The CNN is worthless genocide laundering organization that makes people dumber. And we talk all about Breitbart and all this other dumb shit. This stuff does way more damage because the people that watch it are way more powerful.
Well, the people that watch it also feel like they're being informed. If you're going to Breitbart, you know that you are a racist conspiracy theorist for the most part. Like, they've cornered that market. But there are a lot of folks who are well-meaning liberals who just turn on the television and they want to be informed, and they feel like kind of passively listening to this pre-digested corporate media
Zionist propaganda
is gonna inform them. And in reality, it's doing the opposite. I mean, the way that they've continued to frame even this as a war, and the Israel-Hamas war, that is, they've repeated the lies about Hamas being the obstacle to a ceasefire. They've repeated the lies about Israel's war aims and the process by which the administration was going about trying to negotiate with the Israelis. I mean, it's so many different layers of lies that is being packaged as truth for profit.
But ban TikTok.
And can I just say, too, like, Sam Husseini, obviously, just by monitoring State Department press briefings, like, he's not an activist. He's a credentialed reporter. He's been asking State Department spokespeople pointed questions since, October 7th, and I think before as well. And the other kind of wild thing that I think is because also maybe potentially who they might have been referring to, which I wouldn't even call him this necessarily. Max Blumenthal also was there and interrupted the briefing. But my view on these things is in other countries, like in England, Boris Johnson or whoever would go to small towns for press visits and be heckled by citizens of the country, basically voicing their discontent. Like, we as a country very much often, I mean, I understand in some extent security purposes for these things, but like, we insulate our elected officials, our appointed officials so much so that they cannot be held accountable for the consequences of their actions and what they do.
And Blinken has not been made available way too many times throughout this. I mean, it's been the Matthew Miller spokesperson show. The point, though, is also, we were talking about this with Anel Sheline, our foreign policy apparatus is so undemocratic, and I think resulted in many ways, the Democrats having zero credibility on the issue of Trump's threat to democracy when we're funding a genocide that is widely unpopular. And it's basically a bunch of backroom bureaucrats that are unelected that we've outsourced our national security apparatus to, whether it be this West exec crew or Brett McGurk and Amos Hochstein and the other folks within the White House who are just making these decisions outside of what the public thinks. Like, how can you talk about Trump's threat to democracy, which is really just democratic responsiveness, not just what happens on election day and what happens after the election, like with Trump trying to overturn the results of the election. The Democrats have become so removed from what democracy actually looks like that they really just think of it as the electoral process that gets us back into power. And I think that had a corrosive element on their ability to message here.
Because they're fascist too. Anyone would understand. You start calling this, like, and these liberals here at CNN here, people activists who are accredited journalists who have been there this entire goddamn genocide. If it was Republicans saying that, everyone would know that whatever people mean by the term, invoking the term fascism in terms of emergency authoritarianism, is actually present in the fucking Democrats too. Like, it is here. It's not something that we can stave off by electing more Democrats. It needs to be confronted in both parties. And I think a good place to start is the Zionists.
Yeah.
I think the interesting thing is they use the term activist when they mean someone who cares, honestly. Like,
right.
Sam Husseini's, like you guys have said, he's been there. Like, if you've ever watched a single moment from these press conferences, he's been there throughout. He always has a question that's usually clipped and shared on social media because it's one of the best of the questions asked. And the questions he asks shows that he cares, because they're the type of questions that don't really get asked by the mainstream media. And then here you have CNN calling that caring on this issue, they just label it as activism.
Cringeworthy.
Because they don't care. They don't care. Like this
Well,
is
they're
just
made
a job to them.
uncomfortable by the fact that we care. They're made uncomfortable by the fact that other people in their field, and like what we're online hosts, but we're still in the media business. That other people in the media business may take a stand on genocide because it makes them look so
Like what they are.
empty, which they are.
I mean, the best journalism is from journalists who care, honestly.
Yeah.
Obviously, different journalists cover different things, and caring about those issues looks different depending on what they cover. But like you could just tell from who breaks what, who covers what, how they cover it, who cares, and who's just there doing a job in hopes of getting, a promotion or a whole new gig working for whatever company or organization that they're covering. It is what it is, and people should see through that. And I just don't think a lot of people do, unfortunately.
Yep. So, and to the point about Max Blumenthal, like I have a lot of disagreements with him based on
Particularly COVID and Brownstone Institute stuff, which is, in my opinion, very shady.
But the point is like, credit where it's due. I'd love him going and yelling and telling Blinken to his face what he's done. Like that is, this is the kind of thing where even if they were just referring to Max, who has a editorial history that you could potentially describe as activist, I still would support it regardless. It doesn't matter. So
yeah, I don't think we test we're not St. Peter checking every journalist that goes in the press corps for their heart and whether they're getting into heaven. It is, what questions are you asking the people in power making decisions and doing a snow job on what's actually happening?
Hey folks, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and check out our daily show. We do it every day at 12 p.m. Eastern for about 2.5 hours. We even take phone calls. You should check that out.